Voice Party. This week's episode is brought to you by All Roads Overhead Garage Doors. Call now, 510-375-8756. Proudly serving the Bay Area since 2002. Also, hablamos español. That means they speak Spanish. Free consultations. You got old garage doors and your haunted garage. You got some important stuff you need to protect. Or maybe you live in your garage because this is the Bay Area. You got a whole family living in there. Give us a call. All Roads Overhead Garage Doors. Yeah.
This is Joaquin Xavier with The Voice Party.
This is JD Arandia. We got Phil Spruner.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
And a very special guest today, my boy from 6th grade. I first met him. Didn't see him for many years, and all of a sudden, I was on Facebook and I saw a trailer for this documentary. Romeo is Bleeding. I was like, yeah, I know that guy. I was like, oh damn, he's doing good. Which, you know, from where we're from, sometimes you hear bad news about people. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
I thought I had heard bad news about you, man. I guess it was a different Donte, and I was like, oh damn. I'm sorry to hear that. And then I see the trailer. I was like, I guess it was a different I mean, whoever that other Donte, I still feel bad, but you know, like, I thought it was you. And then I saw your documentary. I was like, oh man, dude, I'm happy to hear you're doing good. And then I just reconnected with you, and I see you were in the film Kicks. You've been in the North Pole. You're on season 2 of right now, and I see you got other stuff coming on. And I just want to say, man, I'm proud of you.
Oh man, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, man. Thank you for taking your time to come and do this for us. Because you know, when you take time out of your life to do anything, you know, especially like this, you know, I really appreciate it, man. We just want to welcome you to the Voice Party, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Open arms, sir.
Yeah.
It's always a beautiful opportunity when anybody takes an interest in wanting to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't take that light, whether it's the biggest platform or something that's up and coming or in the middle. I don't care what your audience is. If you feel like, hey, I want to ask you some questions. I want to know a little bit more about your process, your approach, your perspective, your experience. I'm humbled because some people get walked past every day and don't nobody care to know what you got going on. So you feel me? I appreciate the opportunity.
No, man. We're very grateful that you came out here. I know you got a busy schedule, and I'm actually curious about what you got going on. You know, I mean, I know the North Pole just came out. What was it, last month?
Yep.
And what have you seen? Like the first season came out. Whenever something comes out, like the first season. I mean, sometimes it you just gotta wait for it. I'm sure.
Right.
This season, the second season, I know you got Rosario Dawson involved in that. Was she involved in the first season or just the second season? Just the second season. Yeah. What have you heard about like people's perception of the second season now?
I always get good feedback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I may have my own like criticisms about things, but it seems like when other people see the art, it's like, man, this was way better than the first one. Yeah. Y'all leveled up in the writing or the acting, or I see now more possibilities. The first season was more about Oakland, and Oakland was the character, or North Oakland was the character, and then the second season was like, it was about y'all diving into y'all personal lives and using the environment,
character development.
You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, I see more possibilities. So everybody who've talked to me said that they love it. You know what I mean? I done met random people on the subway or in the streets, like little kids, like, hey, aren't you the one in the North Pole? And it's like to see like young kids even watched it enough to recognize like, hey, you the one that's in the North Pole. You know what I mean? That says a lot right there.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah,
that's
got to be big.
Yeah.
And for some of our listeners that don't know, how can they watch the North Pole?
Go on YouTube and type in the North Pole Show. And it should pop up both seasons.
Available for free.
That's
awesome,
both seasons.
Man. I know that you mentioned this last time we talked. You were actually brought back in as a writer.
Yeah.
Season 2.
They had to.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I was just showing him. You're also an author now. You No Freedom. I went when you did the thing at Bridge.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Is this your first time writing for something like a script? Was that your first time doing
something that got used.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So that was you sit down in your thoughts and come up. I got like at least 10 movies or scripts in my head that's just like from the beginning, middle, and end. I know every character. I know the lines already. But to actually write something out and to have a budget be poured into manifesting this idea, this was my first time on film to be like, all right, I'm one of the writers. And some of the jokes or some of the catchphrases that was used or some of the scenes development or settings and placements, to see that, wow, it got used. And then for me to have an episode to myself, being one of the writers or lead writers on that episode, or on the in the North Pole was second season. What episode is that? I think it's 5 or something. We go camping, and that whole flower scene that everybody like, that's my favorite episode, or that's my favorite character. It's like a lot of that was improv. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's like even that type of stuff was like, it's dope just to see that. Yeah.
What made you want to get into the acting? Because I know we mentioned, you said we had you on the last talent showcase, the Richmond talent showcase, and I asked you, and you said it's in the documentary too, what you wanted to be as a child was the drug dealer.
Yeah, that was the best thing going.
Yeah.
You were looking at the monetary value of that and going, hey, people are getting cars this way. And
but what made you want to pursue acting, or did that just kind of come to you like naturally with the poetry? Because I know you were doing the poetry, the spoken word, right, and you still perform, right? Yeah. What made you pursue acting?
Honestly, I think I was doing acting way before. Well, it's kind of hard to say. I think I've been doing all of it since I was a kid. The first time I remember saying I wanted to be an actor, I was probably like between 5 and 8. And as all kids, when you watching whatever you watching on TV, you emulate that. Yeah. Your favorite scene in the movie where the cops bust into the room, or this person jumped from this roof, you jumping off the couch to try to duck and roll, you know what I mean? So I used to watch film and just be like, that don't seem real. I wouldn't do it that way. I would have did it that way. Or being in love with whatever film that I was watching, to be like, I could do that. And then just hearing like one of my older brothers saying like, you couldn't be an actor because you had to cut your hair in order to get this role, or you have to gain weight or lose weight or get tattooed. Like, you have to change who you were. And me being a young kid, even then I was like, I'm not changing who I am to do that. So I guess acting ain't for me. And I just remember saying, I just gave up on that, ain't for me. And then as I got older, started writing. But I was always a person that was into performance, or emulating people's voice, how they talk, how they walk, just watching people and just trying to emulate that and then understand where they coming from. So I guess if I wasn't acting, it was like it transitioned into just me being a storyteller, a writer, which I was doing since I was in kindergarten. Like, it's stories of my mom saying that I didn't really know how to read that well in kindergarten. So that she had got me hooked on phonics. And so just listening to these tapes about how to sound out your alphabets and how to put words together, I could spell words that I've never even seen before, just based off of knowing how words sound. And so that infatuation with sound became like, I could spell. And then that turned into me memorizing stories from these tapes, word for word, but I couldn't spell the words out or see the words. I couldn't tell you what that word was necessarily. But I would memorize the stories and then go to kindergarten for show and tell and recite whole stories to the whole classroom just because I wanted to. And it was just like, the kindergarten teacher was like, he gonna be special. He take a while to get it, but when he got it, get out the way. He's a master at it. And so just from kindergarten, being able to sit in front of a classroom and recite stories to him, and then emulating people as a kid saying, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. And then eventually doing it was like, it sounds weird, but it's like, I've always been
an actor
this way. You know what I mean? And just even having the willpower to say like, I'm not changing in order to get that. I'm gonna do it the way it makes me feel comfortable. And I was a kid when I said that. And so everything that I've accomplished has been pretty much in the way that I felt comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? So I've always been this way.
So you have like a photographic memory for words, like word for word. Because I mean, when I see you do the poetry, I myself, I can't picture myself remembering, like, even when I do stand up, I'll always tell the joke way different every time, because I don't have a set way to say it or something, you know, like I don't have a structure per se.
Yeah.
It's all scrambled everywhere, and I'm just kind of finding it and grabbing it as it comes. But I see the way you perform the you know, when I've seen you do the poems, I've seen you quite a bit now, and it just, man, like, you must have, like, you can see it in your brain to just let it out the way it comes out, very, very tight.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you, I mean, I don't know if you can explain on that. Like, I'm curious though, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like I pair every single word together intentionally. So it's like no word is there by accident. Or no word is there because I was lazy. It's like if I put I right there,
Yeah.
I like the way it sounds. I like how it started off, or it transitioned from this thought to the next thought. If I gets in the way, I will remove that and just jump straight to the next word. And then that will create a different type of emotion that'll make it either abrupt or it'll make it smooth. It'll make it harmonic, or it's a place where it's like I can just be sharp or I can be like melodic with it. So it's like everything that I put up in there, and that's how I memorize, knowing that if I put this word here, that word will help me transition to the next thought. And when I'm performing, I have to see every single word in my mind, so that way I know not to get off track. Because if I forget what that word is, then that thought, I don't remember that thought. So then I will have to just jump to what other thought that I remember. And so when I perform, sometimes when I'm making eye contact, I will get so focused on watching the people that if I don't really have my words memorized, I forget what I was doing. So I have to sometimes close my eyes, and when I close my eyes, all I see is the images and the words, and I forget that y'all are even here.
Dang.
And then I open back up, and then it's like it's the audience. And then, so I like to perform based off of like, what are the pictures? So every single word is tight like that.
Man, that's deep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it described that way, you know? Like, what inspires a lot of your poetry? I mean, I looked at the I read your it's a big collection of your poems.
Right.
Some of them, when I was reading them, I remembered, because some of them you must have been holding on to since you were a child.
Yeah.
Because I read some of that, and it reminded me of the days when you'd hang out at the portables. I remember a couple times we hung out at the portables and Helms Middle School together, and you'd be rapping, just like hitting something to make a beat, not just be eating, like listening, like, oh damn, he's good.
Yeah.
So like, what? I just can't imagine like how long like you had been holding on to some of the poems on there. Like, how did that come about?
That's crazy. A lot of those pieces. Well, the first poem that I put in this book, No Freedom, is the second poem that I've ever wrote.
Yeah.
And this was back in 2007. So it starts from 2007 all the way up until the last poem that I wrote, which was in 2018. And so I captured that journey of what was I going through from childhood. And though that poem wasn't written back in 6th grade, it captures the emotions of when you ask a person how they feel. Mm-hmm. And their response is like, oh, I'm good, but they really are hurting, or they not good. You feel me? So when I was a kid, nobody really asked you, how are you? It was just you acting out. Here's a referral, get out of my class. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask like, what is going on with you? How did you eat today? You know what I mean? Just certain humanity that wasn't acknowledged.
There's an assumption. Well, the thing about when you're teaching, and I can't speak for all teachers, but there's this unsaid idea that goes, well, we have these blanket rules that say if student X is disruptive or does XYZ behavior, and after more than one warning, we send them out. And it's really because the teacher doesn't have the time to sit you down individually and go, hey, man, what's wrong? What's up? They have a class to teach. It's management first, individualized humanity second. You let the office figure out what's up. Now,
they should.
If you get sent to
they should, yeah,
right, and if you get sent to the office and they don't care, that's the problem, because it's their job to figure out. All right, so what's going on?
And that's the part where it's like it gets tricky for me, because if say for example at Helms, I had in 6th grade, I had one teacher from 2nd period to 6th, 7th period. So I'm with you for like 6 hours a day. If you don't take the time to ask how I'm doing, then this is going to be a very beautiful ride, or it's going to be very treacherous for both of us. If I'm spending most of my time with you and you don't care about me as a student, because then how am I learning? How am I progressing? And then it becomes difficult in a certain system where you give one teacher like 300 kids a day. How can that person really have enough time and energy to, one, make sure that everybody is learning properly, and then 2, that everybody's well-being is, you know what I mean, being paid attention to. And it's like the school system then becomes like, all right, this system is not working. First of all, some of us are hands-on learners. True. And if you're just giving me a bunch of information, I'm not processing it, and then I'm gonna fall behind because I'm disinterested. And what you consider to be like too energetic, it's like, that's how I learn. So give me something hands-on to do so I can process that information. And then some people are just listeners. You know what I mean? I got to hear it in an art format, music, or it's different ways that we learn. And if that's not being cultivated, then it's like you are now trying to condition everybody to learn one way. Yeah. And that's the problem with the system. And then it's like, it's too many people in a classroom. If we had more teachers, like we had you know what I mean, one lead facilitator and 3 hands to help with 50 kids. And it's like, okay, cool. This group go over there, this group go over there, this group go over there. And then we all regroup. You know what I mean? But if you got one teacher in front of 60 kids for 6 periods straight, it's kind of like it's amazing if a lot of people come up out of there feeling like well nourished.
Yeah. I mean, it is true that, well, and it is very true that in private school, one of the attractions of private schools is that you have smaller class sizes, and studies do show that the smaller your class size is, the better your students are going to learn, because then the teacher actually has the time to put together something that's going to touch everyone. I mean, the best teachers think about visual learning, auditory learning, and kinesthetic learning. With some subjects, though, it's difficult. Like math is easy for a kinesthetic learner because you want geometry, fine, I got these blocks for you. You want to add and subtract, I got these manipulatives for you, no matter what grade you're in. But then you get to stuff like history. You'd have to put on a play, really, for your kinesthetic letters. You'd have to actually bring out some scripts that are kid ready and be like, you have somebody play Columbus, and then we're gonna have folks march out and slaughter the Indians, and you have to put it on, but not everybody unfortunately has time for the more text lecture heavy subjects, and we need to work on that clearly. And
it kind of what you touched on too, like whatever your parents don't catch that you have, or like dyslexia or whatever learning disabilities, and hopefully your teachers will catch, which a lot of cases they don't. Eventually those things that no one catches in your childhood, they'll catch you as an adult. Yeah. And you're kind of screwed at that point unless you can change yourself. On that note, I noticed you've gone through a lot of changes yourself, like as since that documentary, for example. I remember in that documentary there's a lot, but one of them in particular that I know you talked about, and I don't know, I want to ask you, do you consider yourself like a vegan activist or a plant-based activist? Because I know that's something that you change about yourself, right? Right. Yeah. Is that, and then I know I noticed, I follow you on Instagram. Sometimes you post stuff about that. Is that something that's kind of because I know you're about developing yourself essentially, right? Yeah. Is that something that you consider as I know it's important. I want you to talk about that. What that has done for you since you changed that.
Man, just going from traditional American diet to eat whatever it is that you see, eat until you're full, to then being like, if we are one of the nations that's highest in all unhealthy
obesity,
like all of these things, it's like, okay, then when you get specific, like, no, the black community has the highest rate in all unhealthy diseases, related ailments. It's like, what is causing that in our community? Then it's like food. So it's like, dang, if I go to the doctor and the first thing they gonna ask you, A lot of us go to the doctor to get like, tell me what's wrong with me. But the first thing they do is ask you, like, what have you eaten?
Mm-hmm.
Have you drunk? Have you drunk any water? You say you got a headache. They gonna first ask you, what are you feeling? Where is it at? So that taught me like, dang, I have to know my body in order for them to help me. Because if I don't tell them what I've been doing, then they can't help me. And all they're going to tell me is what I should already know anyway. So if I'm giving them the answers, then I don't need to go to you to talk. Man, my head is hurting. Why is my head hurting? The last thing that I ate was, a half of cake and I ain't drunk no water. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, so after I ate that, I felt sick. So I can't eat that no more. It's like your body tell you. So from that, it was like, all right, from this American Standard Diet, I know after I eat, my stomach hurt. I'm full. I ate too much.
You got the itis.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like from that thought, I'm like, all right, I want to eat food that's gonna give me energy and not make me sleepy. Mm-hmm. So if food is supposed to give you energy, why am I so tired and feeling lazy and sick and all of this other stuff? So I want to find the foods that's gonna give me the energy so I can keep going when I am tired. So then once I start looking into that, it's like, all right, fruits and vegetables.
Yep.
And then from there, it was like, oh, vegan. I didn't even know what that was. I just stopped eating like certain, like mostly like meat. Yeah. Stop eating that. It was like, I don't want no animal products. So then that's when people are like, oh, you a vegan. I'm like, if that's what you want to call it, I don't really know what that is. It's like, yeah, they don't eat animal products. So I'm like, okay, I'm a vegan. So then once I started realizing what a vegan is, it's like they mostly advocate for animals. So they don't have anything that came from an animal, not just the food, but just like belts, shoes, jackets, purses, like anything that came from the killing of an animal or interrupts the livelihood of animals, natural process, they are advocating mostly for animals. And then it's like, oh yeah, we also benefit too from this, but we need to stop hurting animals. So I wasn't necessarily coming from that place, although seeing that is like, dang, that is crazy on what's happening to them in order for us to get some milk. You know what I mean? When we can get milk from other products. But the problem with being a vegan is a lot of those foods are still processed just as much as animal-based products. So just being a vegan is not a guarantee that you are healthy. It's just you don't have a lot of meat in your body, but you got a lot of processed chemicals that's just as bad as the meat that you're eating, who also is injected with the same chemicals. So it's like
cancer-causing
stuff. Yeah. So it's like being a vegan is not a guarantee that you are healthy. It's just supposed to be a transition from eating a American Standard Diet to transitioning into a more plant-based, holistic, whole food diet. So I wouldn't say I'm necessarily an advocate. It's just that thing of once I know something, I have to change. And once I change, if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. And just being a storyteller or being a person that's just honest in conversation, it's hard for me to lie. I would have to just, you know what I mean? It's like if I come across something knowing like, dang, this right here, this milk is what's causing asthma and cancer. And everybody I talk to when I pass them, they keep complaining about their asthma. So it's like, well, if you stop drinking that milk, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so it's just, I try not to like put out hella videos. If I come across something, it's like I ain't gonna say it. I'm just gonna boom repost this. Yeah. And if you want to see it, the link is right there. You can go read into it. I'm not gonna say much more about it. I'm gonna just boop. I saw this video. It was a big worm coming up out of that little fish that you like to eat up at Chick-fil-A. Yeah, boom. I just saw a video. Somebody went there yesterday and it's a worm that came up out of there. So if that's what you want to eat, cool. I'm on to the next. I'm not eating it. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not going hard as I see a lot of people do, but I follow a lot of pages that breaks down the reasonings on why, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And if something helps you, you want to share it, like with everyone, especially the people you love, and so that makes sense.
What do you do for your source of protein?
Plants, mostly greens. Greens. You could do quinoa, chickpea. Yep.
And it's
mostly greens, because it's like when you think about it, just even getting back to like visual learners, like when you see the animals in the animal kingdom, the strongest and the healthiest ones, they just eat greens. Plants, like gorillas. Mostly they eat is fruits and berries. And they don't just see like that. They don't peel bananas. They eat the whole thing. Like
I'm not sure my stomach can process banana
But, you know
peel,
what I mean? But if you did it in a smoothie,
yeah.
you know what I mean? If you just blended it, the whole thing, boom, the whole thing.
You
like,
do that?
I haven't. I did it once. I went to this spot in Richmond, and they was like, I wanted a banana smoothie. He was like, hey, man, I'm going to just put the whole thing up in there. I said, I ain't tripping. Gorillas don't peel theirs neither. Yeah. You feel me? Rhinoceroses, you put a melon in it, they not going to split the watermelon open. They going to eat the whole thing. You feel me? And that's what they the strongest ones.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty weak compared to a tiger, and all they eat is meat.
But you see, after they eat, they can't eat nothing for like a week, and after they eat, they sleep all day.
That's true.
You feel me? And every other animal, they eating grass, and that's who they are killing to get whatever. You know
they
what I
also
mean?
eat it without salt and a lot of.
That's true. They do eat it really the healthiest way that you can. Just
But that's how they're designed for that.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like that's their habitat. That's what they designed for.
And I would never advocate.
You don't hear about tigers having diabetes.
Yeah.
Well,
and obesity. They eat what they need.
That's
boom.
True.
I'm finna eat this little calf, and for the next 4 days, I'm chilling.
And anatomy also is very different. I mean, the closest anatomy to us is like apes, and like you said, what they eat, it's all
it's all plant based.
Yeah.
I would also say that, like, you know, in regards to diabetes specifically, like I read recently that traditionally the idea about losing weight was you had to cut the fat. You had to cut the fat. You had to cut the fat. But that was actually revealed to be a lie that was propagated by the sugar industry. The research actually says that sugar and carbs are what really make you fat.
Yeah.
You know, like people eating ice cream or bread or whatever, a lot of hella bread, you know, pasta. You know, and I found when I lost the weight that I lost, it's like once I cut the carbs and the sugar, I'm flying.
Automatically, yeah. Automatically. And those are things that cause all of the diseases. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like even
heart
like
disease.
That. Yeah.
How has changing this improved like your art, the what you do, like the poetry, the writing?
I say it gives you clarity.
Yeah.
Like when you putting certain foods in your body, that becomes your genetic makeup in a sense. You feel me? You are what you eat, for lack of a better term, for those who need something that easily to process. You are what you eat. So if I'm eating something that's holistic, then I'm gonna think a certain type of way. Yeah. I'm gonna process things a certain type of way. I'm gonna have a certain type of energy. I'm gonna have a different type of motivation. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be energetically charged. So it's like. And then it also, like, just that whole process make you look at the connection that you have with the world or the universe. It's like, dang, I'm one with nature. So if I'm mostly drinking water, I'm doing that because I realize, dang, my body is mostly consisted of water. Mm-hmm. So now, how can I separate, like, what's going on with the water crisis from me? You know what I mean? It's like, if the water is poison, then that's a reflection in me. You feel me? If I'm looking at the soil, like I'm the same tone as the soil. You know what I mean? So just like I start seeing my connection with nature differently than just like I'm above it. It's like, no, I am because of it. I'm mostly water. I look like the soil, and the sun directly gives me my energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the energy and the proteins and the vitamin D, all of that stuff that people talk about. For us, if we go sit in the sun, boom, I get that. Water, boom, I get that. The earth, I came from the earth. So if I spend more time in nature, you know what I mean, then I'm soaking up the magnet that's with the sun is hitting the grass all day. So if I go put my bare feet out there, I'm getting that energy from the foot all the way up and from the head. And then if I eat the water that's underground, that's alkaline, you feel me, that ain't contaminated, it's clean water. If I'm eating fruit that carried that water, boom, I'm getting that. So it's like, wow, not only am I getting the sun, I'm getting the barefoot. Then if I eat all of that, I'm holistic. How could I be angry? So then I'm gonna think about things in a more holistic and a peaceful way. I'm gonna think about people. I'm gonna see people differently. Like I can't look at you as different from me, because everything that I benefit from, you benefit from. Everything that hurt you, hurt me. You feel me? And I need every person plays a role in in our ecosystem. You feel me? So you can't live without the other. And so that impacts like your thought process, and then it gives you different images and different language and different analogies to play with.
The reason I ask is I'm currently trying to get healthier, and I notice when I come home and I'm trying to write, sometimes I have a headache, or I don't like to do this, but sometimes I'm for months I spent months just sick all the time. My diet was horrible. I was drinking a lot. And I noticed that all these things would distract me from doing, like, sitting down and writing. And it's hard, man, to get off of those bad things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I've heard someone say it's harder than, like, quitting drugs sometimes, because it's something you do every day. So it's like, and I can see, like, the people, I don't know. Luckily, I mean, you surround yourself with the people that kind of do that. It helps. For you, how did you get involved with changing all these things? Like, how did you go about, I mean, aside from you say you just started noticing, but like, was there someone that helped you, that guided you through it, or just
I think over the years I had people in my life who were doing certain things that I didn't turn it off, even if I wasn't attracted to just eating a salad. But I had certain people in my life who would eat a salad, and I'm like, that's all you eat? And I'm like, yeah, it's good for you. But nobody really, I don't recall one specific person sitting me down saying, this is why it's good for you. It was just like, it's good for you. It's better than that. That's unhealthy. It was this person named Miss Atkins Brooks at the Making Waves education program. I remember in high school, and then when I started working there, she used to do this program called Beyond Hot Chips. And it was just talking about different foods that you can try that's more healthier for you. So if any one person, when I was in 10th grade up until like my early, like when I was 20 years old, she would be that consistent person in this environment, trying to get the staff and the children and the young folks to eat beyond hot chips, like eat something more healthy. But I didn't really soak up a lot of that. You know what I mean? It wasn't until it was motivating to me of feeling like, dang, bro, I just ate half of a 7-Up cake last night. If I keep going at this route, I'm gonna have diabetes. So it was like the fear for me to be like, I'm just gonna cut out juice and soda and drink a lot of water. And then from that, it was like, boom. So I had a lot of people in my life that was doing certain things, but it wasn't like somebody was just with me every day. But when I made that transition, it wasn't really nobody around. So seeing Miss Atkins Brooke, I was 15 until 20, seeing what she was doing in like spurts. When I was 25 and I just made that leap, it was me. You know what I mean? It was certain people around who was like, oh, you could probably, who bought me little vegan books, and I looked into it and stuff like that. But it was mostly me.
Nice.
Sounds like you had some good examples, though. And that's important, because if you were never exposed to any of that, like at all, like what's the salad? Was it, the leap might have been a little harder.
Yeah.
Another question that I wanted to ask you, not, it's pertains to the documentary, the Romeo's Bleeding.
Right.
I was thinking about how I was going to ask this. Basically, after the movie came out, after it was really, after it's available on, it's still on the Netflix, right?
Right.
Yeah. Have you had like anyone? Because the film touches on the gang wars between Richmond, the two. Have you had anyone that's in that life currently, or like talk to you about putting them on the film? Like, I don't know if
What
you
mean,
like talk to me about it.
Like
opposed it, or it was like
any way, either opposed it or said, you know what, I like that it kind of touches on bringing peace between the two.
Yeah, has it chained some lies? Has it made some people angry? Like, yo, you exposing us? What's going on? Like, that this dry snitching lightweight, cuz.
Or I just I mean,
how do people feel?
People don't like that you did that, because I can picture doing. I can imagine like doing something like that about something that happened in my life, and I don't think. I mean, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable, because that's a brave move. So I just I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, if if we can edit this out.
I mean, I would say documentaries get made about various. There's an entire show where they're talking about active and non-active gangs all the time.
Yeah.
Shoot, it is Tuesday for some gangs. You know what I mean?
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've gotten overwhelming positive feedback.
Nice.
Like not one single bit of negative
Yeah.
feedback over the years has come to me. That was something that was like, dang, I messed up. I shouldn't have did that.
Right.
You know what I mean? If anything, people felt like, I wish you would have went deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But you already gave a lot that was like ain't been touched on, ain't nobody talked about in this format, period. So it's like the first of all, this is the first of this conversation in this format in the city, period. Yep. So there's really nothing else you can compare it to.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like people in the streets already know what's up. So it wasn't like I was exposing much. It wasn't like, hey, this is a top secret thing. Like if you ask the police, they the ones who said it, a car accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you talking to people in the street, they like, man, it wasn't that. It was something else. You know what I mean? So it's like, it wasn't like it was nothing secret. All I was saying is like, all right, this is what's going on. Okay, so now that we know what's going on, I'm going to put this in this format of Romeo and Juliet. So it's like, dang, I never even thought of that.
That's genius.
You know what I mean? So it's like, this is something that everybody, if I would have just came out, yeah, this is what's happening. If it was just a regular street documentary, it would have been like, all right, it's a street, it's still a documentary, but it's like, he compared what we already know and what's going on to Romeo and Juliet. How did he do that? And then it's like, wow. And the fact that it's real. So it wasn't like I made up something. It's like, no, he's from a neighborhood related to individuals from this neighborhood. And he's considered Romeo. And she's from Central. And she's considered Juliet. This is, nobody has done that in this neighborhood. So it's like, what could you say about that? Right. But like, damn, I got to salute that. And when you talk about like just the bravery, of course I felt a certain way. Like, dang, we finna do a documentary. First of all, we finna tell this play. And then we finna record it in the documentary. When writing the play, I'm like, I don't want to disrespect this side. And I don't want to fabricate it neither. I don't want to sugarcoat it. So it's like I had to make sure I was unbiased. Even though at the time I was feeling like I'm from this side.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like y'all killing my people. Y'all my people, but I don't really know y'all. I'm more connected to this side. But I still had to write it in the way it's like, all right, y'all got some suckers on y'all side and we got some suckers on our side. Y'all got some hitters and soldiers on y'all side. We got some hitters and soldiers on our side. Y'all lost, we lost. You feel me? We all have something to gain moving forward. Ain't no point of counting bodies. We all lost. Yep. You feel me? Y'all got people in jail. We got people in jail. Y'all got people killed. We got people killed. Y'all got people out there hurting. We hurting. Ain't no winners. No matter how many times you try to look at the score, you probably killed on our side 10 more people than we killed over there. But 2 years ago, we killed about 30 of y'all's. So it's like, you know what I mean? And people still hurting. So when I looked at it from like that point, I'm like, I have nothing. It was like that gave me permission. Like, ain't nothing nobody out here can tell me because I lost people. You feel me? And I could be out here taking people, but I'm trying to do something positive. So you can't tell me your opinion about what I'm doing because y'all chose y'all route and it didn't work. So I'm finna do this. So this ain't gonna spark nothing that ain't already been sparked. You feel me? I'm not adding, you feel me, fuel to the fire. If anything, I'm trying to quench it.
Yeah, that's the best example of advocate for peace. Like that's all I see it as. But you know, even when you advocate for peace and that's why I ask, because I know, I mean, anytime somebody tries to do something to increase the peace and those, there's always the haters. You know, there's always the people that don't like the feathers being ruffled. I
mean, look what happened to Nipsey.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people feel like that was a setup. Like the dude that killed him wasn't really like that was a police op or some other interested parties. You know.
Man, it's crazy.
Destabilizing stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say that because, like, during that time, I thought somebody would probably try to do something to me. But that's another thing that I feel like gave me permission. It was like, damn, I was growing up all my life claiming North Richmond. You feel me? I look like my brothers. I can't deny that. I'm like, if I go out here and tell people who I am and where I'm from, now they're gonna be able to, oh, that's him. I'm making myself more noticeable. In the past times, I was able to blend. But I'm like, if I do this documentary, bruh, they gonna see who I am. I'm gonna be more noticeable. And I'm like, but if I don't do this documentary, I still look how I look. I'm still from where I'm from. If a person is gonna do something to me, they gonna do it. I'm not finna sit here and worry about that. And I'm just finna go out here and do what I gotta do. You feel me? At least if you do something to me, you know why you did it. It's like, all right, we know he ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I just did it because I'm hurting. I'm cool with that. It won't be because you didn't know what hype I was on. It's gonna be because you was a hater, and you gonna have to admit that. You feel me? Whether I live or not, you was a hater. You didn't want to see me bring us together, and that was that. But the thing about Nip was, I don't know what happened with that situation. I don't know if it was I don't know what it was, but that shook me to the core.
Really?
It was just a simple fact of like, dang, bruh. It can happen just like that. And I always felt that way. Like, it can happen just like that. And it could be somebody you know.
Yeah.
It could be somebody for whatever reason. And it's like, and it's crazy because it's like you could be out here campaigning for so long to try to bring people together, and it's pushback. But as soon as you get killed, all of the gangs want to come together and march. And it's like, why I ain't do this shit when I was walking?
For real.
When I was breathing? Why did it take 24 hours of me being deceased to bring together everybody in the whole city?
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't wait until a person that's advocating for peace get killed and then y'all want to negotiate peace, because now they ain't get a chance to enjoy that. You feel me? But I realized then, like, sometimes that's just what it is. You just gotta, you can't worry about if it's gonna come in your time or not. You just gotta do it. And you gotta move a certain way, because it ain't nothing you could do that can prevent you from it happening to you. Even your bodyguards, you got bodyguards. If they get paid enough, or if the pressure get put on them, if they gotta choose between you and their family, they may be the contract killers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I learned years ago, I used to like, man, I'm gonna have to walk around with military. I'm gonna have to walk. I'm like, Malcolm X had security and got smacked on stage.
Yep.
I
mean,
Nip had no security and got smacked in front, you know what I mean, in front of his building. So it's like, I just started looking at so many different possibilities over the years of like, it's no point of me worrying about that.
Right.
I just gotta walk with the faith, you feel me, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And whenever that time is, somebody had asked me in a workshop, like, not a workshop, a class visit. They said, if you could walk in anybody's shoes, dead or alive, who would it be? First time I ever was asked that question, and this is the answer that I came up with. I said, probably Malcolm X. The last 24 hours. Just so because he felt it was going to happen. That's what they say.
Yeah.
He felt something was going to happen when he walked up into that ballroom. And I'm like, I want to know what it feels like to know this is it.
Wow.
Then I wouldn't have to worry about it no more. If I could just be in that moment and come back into my shoes, like, okay, I know what it feels like to know, all right, this is it. And until I feel that feeling, there's nothing to be afraid of. You just got to go hard, because I don't feel that feeling. But any day I wake up and I feel that feeling, okay, this is it. Ain't no point in rushing. I'm finna take my time.
Yeah.
Because it's you know what I mean? It's here. So I'm finna hold my baby. I'm finna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I could just, that'd be mine. If I could just know that feeling, this is it, that'd be it for me. That's all I want to know. Anything else is like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
There's something to be said, going back to Nipsey Hussle and touching on Malcolm X. In fiction, a lot of times they'll have statements where they're like, no, we don't want to kill the hero of this movie or this book because we'll make them a martyr, and we don't want a martyr. And I think that in some ways a martyr can be more powerful almost than a living crusader. Jesus Christ, possibly one of the greatest martyr, I'm just going to say it right now, in human history, has people following this man of varying sects and divisions, but still following him off the strength of him being crucified. That is a powerful thing. And I'm not sure what the situation in L.A. is now, but I certainly hope that Nipsey Hussle's death has brought, peace to those, classically feuding groups, the Bloods and the Crips, or at least a step toward that. I mean, how many people has Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. inspired in the wakes of their deaths and their murders?
I see what you're saying, though. Yeah, like I totally, I appreciate that people do see the message afterwards, but then it's like, yeah, dude, afterwards, like, I'm here right now, like, come on, like, let's.
Cause this is my thing, like, I used to feel that too, and I'm like, going back to Nip. When the clip that was circulating after his passing was, man, they killed him because he was doing a documentary on Dr. Sebi. Mm-hmm. And the last thing he had said on that subject was like, man, if they do something to me, y'all better ride. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. He said that, right? We in what, November? Mm-hmm. Who rode for him?
Yeah. Yeah, the last thing I heard was his manager, Whack 100, was sort of critiquing the situation in what many people felt was a negative way. He said, you know what, Nipsey wasn't a platinum artist, and where was all this support that he has now that he's dead when he was alive? And one of Nipsey's artists apparently came out and not necessarily threatened the guy, but dissed the guy or whatever for his comments. And I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I haven't heard anything aside from like the squabbles of individuals.
Nah,
but I haven't heard about any.
But he was talking about the person who was interviewing him said, "Aren't you afraid to do this documentary that they may come after you?" He's talking about the political government. Yeah. And Nip's response was, "They better not. If they do, y'all better ride for me." So everybody that was circulating that clip, my two observations was, one, who rode for him? Mm-hmm. Two, since he was doing a documentary on Dr. Sebi, how many of y'all changed y'all diet? Mm-hmm. In honor of one, Dr. Sebi, who also coincidentally just died.
Yeah, when he was super healthy. Yeah.
And then Nip. Mm-hmm. So you got two people both advocating for the same thing. How many of y'all changed y'all diet? And how many of y'all rode for either one of them that got killed by supposedly the government or somebody? So it's like when they say like, man, even Malcolm X, it's like, okay, we can wear a Malcolm X t-shirt, but what did he stand for? How would he feel about prostitution of black women? How would he feel about police brutality if he saw as many of us getting killed on cameras? Come on, man. So it's like, I think we be saying these words, we be throwing them around, we be playing with it like, cause I'm a ride for Nip, like posting it. Okay, that's cool. This how you bringing awareness. Yeah. But you ain't finna ride. It'd be easier to ride on the dude that supposedly did it. But we've been fighting up against the government for how long? Like, it'd be like, come on, man.
Yeah, I would say positively on the police brutality front, that has not gone silently into the night. Speaking of somebody who has lost someone to police brutality, I've gone to every single, not every single march, but every march that I could on behalf of my cousin Oscar. I go to the
Oscar Grant.
I go to his memorial every year, January 1st, and it gets bigger. It doesn't shrink. More and more people come every year, and they, and I don't know. I think we're, that organization, the Oscar Grant Foundation, the Love Not Blood campaign, I think they're doing the best they can. But we could use more help. We could use more people out in the streets. We could use more. And it's a slow fight, though. My aunt, Oscar's mother, has gone to Congress and viewed, the Grant Station movie, for viewings, and they've asked questions and that sort of thing. She's gone to state assembly. She's made speeches and made allies all over the place, as far as I know. But all of that stuff is painfully slow moving. It was slow moving when Martin Luther King, got us the vote, and what have you. And it's just one of those things where, changing policy could take you decades. Changing hearts could take hundreds of years.
And see, that's where I feel I applaud everybody who first of all, condolences to the family of Oscar. I think it's his uncle or his Josephus.
Oh yeah, Uncle Cephas, Bobby. Uncle
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah. I done ran into him a few events he didn't have me do. I had did a piece for Oscar when it had happened. And he had me do that piece at a numerous of occasions, and I performed on behalf of Oscar. I think we share the same birthday, February 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So when that happened, I'm like, dang, that could have been me. You know what I mean? Right. And all of those people that do hit the streets, protest, and try to change policy. And over the years, my issue with policy is people who come up with the policies, and then it's people we put in charge to enforce the policies. At that rate, the policies to me is secondary and the human heart is primary. Mm-hmm. Because who would come up with a policy that would disenfranchise a whole nation of people based off skin color? And then two, even if we got policies in policy, we still don't have the people with hearts to enforce the policy in favor of everyone. So policies became secondary for me once I started analyzing, like, dang, all of the things we voted for, yes, we did fight for the right to vote, and that was passed. Mm-hmm. And since we voted for poor people, what has changed? Now, if you have money and you are a person of color, black, Latina, X, whatever, you may see some benefits because you are paying attention to your interests. You are organized enough to pay attention to, boom, I put my money over here and it's working for me. But if you are poor, what has voting gotten you? So it's kind of hard to believe in policy. Yeah. I have to now see the hearts. And then this is what my problem be. When Nipsey died, it changed the hearts of thousands of gang members to come together. It didn't take 100 years. It took 24 hours. And they didn't organize like 900 gangs to come walk in the street. Thousands of people come to the funeral. And it's like, that means you don't want to change.
You're just angry.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't want to change. Because why does something like this, it happens overnight every time. Every time it's somebody who we deem that we care and love for. When they ask us for something, we like, yeah, I hear you. But as soon as they gone, it's like, you know what, we need to come together. And it's almost short-lived. And it's like, it shows that pain motivates us.
It does.
And until we start really seeing each other for our shared pains, that's the part that's like, what change is like, okay, I have to see you like you are me. And once I can identify with your pain, it's like overnight you will change. Because it's hard to look at you and be like, damn, he remind me of my uncle. I can't do that to him because I love my uncle. But if I don't see you as somebody I identify with, then it's like, I'm not going to change. I don't care what you got going on. You ain't mine.
Yeah.
Is that what, because you said policy second, and one of my favorite musicians says that, artists more than politicians always have their thumb on the pulse of evolution for humans more than any government, like our art. Like it helps us, like you're saying. Is that kind of a responsibility you feel with what you do?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I have to see myself in, like, I can't communicate to you if I don't know what language you speak. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, you speak pain. So when I write this, I'm thinking about you, or you talking about politics. So I gotta show you politically this. Mm-hmm. Okay, you coming from, you know what I mean? Wherever you coming from. Yeah. But most importantly, it's like, man, we gotta empathize with each other. Yeah. You feel me? And I want to unite us through empathy. For those who look like me, it's like, brother, we the same. Sister, we the same. I'm hurting, you hurting. For those who don't look like me, it's like, it's kind of hard to hate a person when you understand their story. Yeah. And you understand their struggle. Yeah. You can't be afraid of me if you feel for me. Mm-hmm. So if I can get you to feel for me, then we can make some changes. As long as you are afraid of me, you're going to feel like my interest is your downfall. And that's not the case. What I'm saying is, get off my back and leave my people alone and let us heal ourselves. You feel me? We'll heal if y'all quit messing with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really hard. We're talking about all those gangs march in the streets and what have you, and maybe it may be temporary for them because after a while they may go back to shooting each other, sadly. Two things. One, self-change takes a long time and it takes a lot of work. But one of the things that a community like certain communities in Los Angeles and even here at Richmond have to kind of evolve with or struggle with PTSD. When I've read some articles on the subject. I've heard some lectures on it, because I work in a high school that's in an area where there's kids suffering from that. And when you grow up in an environment where there's gunshots at least once a week, there are people that you know and love who are dying like violent deaths, not just grandma died of cancer a week ago, but no, this person was killed. You got kids who've seen people killed right in front of them. Mm-hmm. You have kids who've been exposed to their uncles or their older brothers carrying, guns and talking about going on the block and handling their business. Like, PTSD affects your ability to really hanker down, focus, and have rational thoughts. And be committed and stick to it. Your fight or flight syndrome that everyone has, the whole fight or flight thing, is off the charts crazy. It's really hard to learn when you got PTSD. It's really hard to set those long-term goals for yourself. All the stuff that people that don't live in those kinds of areas, they don't have that. So it's kind of hard to, I've seen teachers who aren't from the area come in and not really understand how to work with a lot of our kids, because it's like, why are you behaving this way? I don't understand. I go to Dublin and all the kids are like, yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever, yes sir, yes it is. Y'all are just crazy. It's because the problem is so deep rooted in their psyches. We gotta heal. We gotta bring in,
implement stuff that'll help people with like PTSD.
Yeah, like over at the high school where I work, we have a health center.
Kennedy High.
Kennedy High. We have counselors and professionals that check in with our kids and
that's good.
Work with them. But to me, that's not quite enough. We need some going all the way down to the elementary school level and up. In every one of these communities. Not just ours. Mm-hmm. Los Angeles, Chicago, definitely, man. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Everything has, in my mind, it's probably unrealistic, but everything got to stop.
Yeah.
We can't keep going on as everything is usual, and we're going to get to that. Here go a couple of counselors, because it's like the aesthetics of our country or the aesthetics of our neighborhoods is still present traumatic stress. It's not post, it's present today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to Richmond High and Kennedy High School, and it looks like West County Correctional Facility. Right. It looks like a prison. Then you got teachers in here who, you know what I mean? It's crazy, bro. And it's like, we can't get past the aesthetics. Everything got to stop. And that's another thing. I was talking to somebody a couple years ago at a book signing somewhere. Not even a book signing. It was like a little art, whatever. But somebody in the audience had asked a similar question. It's like, what needs to change? I said, okay, it's not just violence on rap music. Our movies are violent.
Yeah.
So you can't be pouring out product of violence at rapid rates everywhere we turn around and then wonder why there are so many killings in certain communities. Whether you look at Chicago, Richmond, or school shootings, it's like you pump our media with violence. Mm-hmm. Whether, I don't care if it's a car that can transform into a robot, it's still violence. Yep. It's every single movie you turn on, it's a good side and a bad side. And somebody has to fight in order to be the hero. It's violence. So then how can you condemn people in the street who feel oppressed, who feel like, I have to then defend myself? No, you are a criminal. But if violence is bad, then why are we up over there fighting in all of these different wars? Oh, because they are protecting us. So then who the hell is protecting me? So how can you be justified to be violent because you are in the U.S. military, but I can't be justified to fight for my community? Yeah. It's just a hypocrisy. So it's like, as long as it's a Bible verse that said a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. You can't have it both ways, man. You can't be talking about order, but we going to pump so much violent content out there into the atmosphere and then send everybody to jail to fix the problem, and then in jail it's even more crazier than it is on the streets with the correctional officers and putting people in a closet for 23 hours with poor nutrition, and you know what I mean. It's crazy. So that's what made me feel like it's not just policies, it's people's hearts. They don't want to change, and what forces people to change is violence. And I'm not advocating for it, but it's a difference between like killing somebody and murder. It's two different things. Murder is from an evil intent for no reason. Yeah. Killing in battle, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You feel me? And it's three ways you can look at or it's two ways you can look at death. It can be a physical or it can be a spiritual. A part of you has to die in order to be reborn. You feel me? So that's what has to change. You have to get rid of the part of you that's no longer growing. You got to let that go. You got to cut that branch off. Or I got to change. And you got to become new. You feel me? So you got to either you kill yourself or you have to face the fact that, all right, I'm going to be killed in this line of battle, because that's what's happening. You feel me? It's really that's what it is. So as a country or as political government, that's what you're facing with. Because every other thing ain't working. Every other way we went, you got this. Everything has to stop. We have to readjust our whole program. It's not working. The system was not built to work for the masses. It was only built to work for a few. Yeah. And they're not going to stop that. Yep. They're not going to stop that. So it's like you either going to take it from them, or we have to then readjust our ways of being like, you know what, that system not working. We are no longer going to participate in it. We're going to figure out a new system within this. And until that crumble, we just going to keep figuring it out. That's more collective. But either way, the system going to have to die. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I mean. I'm not talking about going to go slash nobody's throat. I'm just saying, like, in order for this to really happen, something has to die. And that can be the people in power. That can be our ways.
The structure.
That can be the structure. Yeah. Whatever you look at it, it's like being peaceful is not going to get it done.
That's true. I mean,
because that in this context is being passive.
Yeah. On a smaller scale, though, for Richmond, I mean, the city's changed a lot. I grew up in Central from when I was first born till my teenage years, and I mean, you were probably around in that area when what was it, like the early 2000s, where we were the number one murder capital in the States. I remember all the things you would see that give you PTSD. Now it's been a big change, and I have that article that East Bay Express did on me, and they mentioned you on there, where the new faces of the city that are bringing new things. You're bringing poetry, and I do the comedy. What do you see that's gonna be, or what's your suggestion to like go even further? Because the violence, I mean, is still there. And just in Richmond.
Yeah.
What do you see as being a solution? What's your suggestion? You know, like, have you talking to any of those city council people, or do you know any? Like, is that a?
I don't know none of them. Yeah. Now, I ain't gonna say I don't know none of them. I know a couple of them, but I don't really be sitting. Yeah. I don't be having conversations. I think. I don't even want to say that. I'm gonna say it anyway. I think a lot of them probably is afraid to talk to me. Yeah. Cause I've been very active in the community, as far as teaching, educating, performing, organizing, however you want to. I'm around, and a lot of them don't really holler at me. You feel me? And but I'm not gonna make it seem like I go out of my way to talk to them either.
Right.
Because I just, like I said, I look at it like when you talking about politics, it's about power.
Right.
And if you either got political power through money, it's money power and people power. Yeah. You feel me? And I'm like, a lot of them not gonna pay attention until it either hurts their pockets or it takes the people away from supporting them. You know what I mean? So I ain't really talked to none of them, but a suggestion or solutions that I see is like...
The reason I ask is because there's going to be a point from everything you do that they're not going to be able to ignore you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're a big voice for the city.
Yeah, and I've been really quiet or chill about, you know what I mean? I don't really be out, I don't be out campaigning like that.
Yeah.
But, man, it's kind of what's this? Yeah, I think a lot of folks just need to come together.
Yeah.
A lot of folks. I think primarily like I want to see black folks come together and just because when you talk about specifically Richmond, we divided, and a lot of us is related. So it's like no political issue can get solved in our favor. We divided, and it's a lot of pain and it's a lot of trauma. So that's another reason why I'm doing that that documentary is to expose like, all right, this is necessary.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to from this play, and if you put it in the context of the 60s or whatever was going on, a lot of the leaders, black leaders and other leaders at the time could all agree. We all have different approaches, but our objective is freedom. And if we really want freedom, we have to come together. You know what I mean? So if you saw Malcolm and Martin coming and shake hands and chop it up, or if you saw that he was like, you know what, I'm going about this wrong. I'm talking about civil rights and desegregation. We need to be talking about land and ownership of land. We need land. We need to, if we own the land, then we can own what happens on the land, and then we can work within each other. Yeah. So with that tying in, you talking about gentrification because we don't own the land. We don't own no property.
Right.
Now, if we put all of our interest and our trust and our investments into, boom, we going to buy this, and this is a community situation to put the best people capable to run it in center. Then we going to take the profits from wherever else and go buy this and buy this and buy that. We wouldn't have to worry about gentrification. We wouldn't have to worry about poor schools because, like, we going to hire people from our community that's capable to do it because it's good teachers. They just don't want to work in an environment where they're not going to get paid for it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not finna, y'all don't pay me enough to deal with this stress. And I don't have the resources. I don't have the institution. So my suggestion is own what's happening on the land. Mm-hmm. And until we can't do that unless we come together. So it goes back to that thing of like, all right, I need to get you to see me as you so you can understand where I'm coming from, and then we can easily work together. Even if we disagree, we'll still be doing it together. All right, let's try this way. If it don't work, we can try your way. You know what I mean? But as long as we committed to each other, like I'm committed to you, you committed to me. I think we should go fight with guns. You think we should put our hands up. Okay, let's put our hands up and let's see how far they get us. That didn't work. So now let's go to the guns. Okay, that's not gonna work neither. Let's do some poetry workshops. Okay, let's you know what I mean? Let's do it together though. Not separate of efforts. Like I'm doing my thing. I don't understand why it's 1,900 nonprofit organizations all going for the same thing. Yeah. That just don't make sense. And it'd be like these be the same people that's talking about all of these different churches and religions. So it's like, what makes your practice different from religion? If you can talk about it's 99 different denominations of religion, it's like 99 different denominations of nonprofits in the same city, all trying to target the same group of kids, and none of that shit is working.
Well, some of them are, differently bent. You have some who are like, I'm just focusing on the health and the diet of the kids. And some of them are like, I'm focused on academics. And some of them are like, I'm focused. A lot of people that start them have these various passions and they want to target something specifically. Like, I'm an expert in this. I'm passionate about this. So I'm going to drive home with this particular thing. Like,
yeah.
That's going to be my thing.
And it should be geared towards the same thing though. It's like, I'm good at teaching math. Mm-hmm. So I want to do a program about teaching math. Mm-hmm. But you are trying to liberate us in math to go back towards indigenous. I'm trying to get us to assimilate into European society. It's not that now that's two different approaches. Yeah. Because you got two different types of freedom movements of like, no, I want free, rich black folks in America. And you like, bro, that's not going to work. We need to think mathematically for us and not mathematically to go to their institutions. So we're gonna go about it in two different ways, and that's still creating a divide. It's like, nah, we all trying to what is freedom? If we have different interpretations of freedom, then we gonna go about it differently. We gonna divide. It's like, so what is freedom for us? What does that look like? We have to come together and talk about that, because that word has been thrown around for the past like 4 centuries, and it's like, all right, what is freedom? The freedom to eat and live like they live? Because if we was the first people and we was indigenous and our old ways truly worked, why are we now assimilating? If this never worked in our favor anyways, this is a relatively new system. and it don't work. So why are we assimilating to this system when for thousands of years that we all love to claim, yo, indigenous? Okay, if all of that worked, why are we changing now to assimilate to a system that don't work? That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Why not go? It's going back. It's not going back in time. That's actually forward because it was more progressive than it is today. You feel me? It was more communal. So if your idea of freedom is to go to a white institution and mine's just like, nah, let's create our own black curriculum. It's not the same thing. So it's no different than 5 or 5,000 denominations of the same religion.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
So if you can criticize religion, then we need to have an analysis to our nonprofits approach, because it's like, why, especially in a small city like Richmond, where it's like, we all gotta work together. So we all know, yes, boom. Yeah. Okay, you good at working with the people that's shooters and you trying to pay them to stop shooting. Okay, that's cool. Why don't you bring some of them to my poetry workshop?
Mm-hmm. Give them some alternative,
to process that.
Yeah.
You feel me? So now we working with the same people. It's not this or that. It's boom. You gonna approach them like, hey, bro, we gonna give you some money temporarily to help you stop selling and post it out there on the street. And while you up over here working with us, we gonna introduce all of these other different programs to give y'all, so y'all can practice, y'all can tap into all of these different these are all of the resources that's working together. But if you got you got organizations funking with each other but all trying to service the same kids, that don't make no damn sense.
That doesn't make sense. And what you mentioned, that's what fueled the Romeo is Bleeding play. On that same note, because I do feel that that's something that'll bring together like those two sides that are right now, still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about putting that into works of like a full length feature film?
When I first wrote it, that's how I envisioned it.
Yeah,
it was like, I can see this being a play.
Yeah,
but
a film.
A film. Yeah. I'm like, I can see this as a film.
Do you still want to pursue that?
I ain't really been pushing hard on it.
Okay.
Like, but it's been a thought in my head of like, if it was to be a film, it had to be done right. It had to be dope. But I see it as a film. I see it being powerful as a film, and I see it being a film that ain't, once again, just like the play, the film, you ain't never seen nothing like it, because it'll be Richmond, California. It'll be the Bay Area. So just all rip. Mm-hmm. Anything done in the Bay Area is gonna have its own flair, its own swag to it. So if you're talking about two different sides funking with each other, and you're talking about poetry, and you're talking about like just the scenery and just everything, I love to see that as a film.
Another, because I know this is something that you probably get at. Do you feel pressure to move to LA? I know you're still in the area, you're still here. Do you feel with everything you got going on, like you have to go over there? But I know you said you want to stay here because you want to change this area. I mean, this is your home,
man. I'm
sure there's more stuff for you to do out there if in the acting scene. And
I feel like it's a lot of opportunities in the sense of, if I needed something produced, you gonna probably bump into like 2,000 producers over the weekend just at coffee shops. Mm-hmm. Directors and actors, photographers. It's almost everywhere you turn, there's somebody that is doing what you're doing, so you can network a little bit more smoother. Yeah. But I also look at it like, if you got a vision and you got a passion and you can communicate to people, I could probably turn y'all into a producer of my next project who you wasn't thinking about.
Right.
Like, hey, bro, I got this idea. It could really work. I can organize y'all three up in here to go and advocate for funds to do the next project. And then I can go convince my partners to be the actors.
Right.
And then I can convince somebody to help direct it and video. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it like, if the greatest resource is people, I don't have to specifically be in LA in order to get that done. If I really want to do it, I just got to convince the hearts of people who I'm talking to invest in it. And then that's how I look at policy. I don't have to go vote. If I can convince the person that's in position of power to do what they need to do, because it's a moral duty to do it, they going to make sure it gets done. Yeah. And if that policy doesn't exist, then we going to bring them folks to the table to talk about what do we need to implement to uplift this idea. So if people is the people who, you know what I mean, is primary. So it's like in the beginning when that film came out, I knew that question was gonna come up, and it was kind of like, dang, I'm offered a position in LA. I'm off. This person is saying, come work with me. And if I don't go, then people gonna be watching me like, dang, so what is he doing now? And if anything that I do doesn't seem as successful or match up to that pivotal moment of like, wow, he on Netflix, then it's like, people gonna look at you as a failure, and you gonna look at yourself as a failure, and you gonna go into a depression or spiral, etc. And I'm like, nah, because I believe in myself. I ain't struggled through all of these years on my own in my own room for me to be worried about what people gotta say about me now, because they never knew what I was doing. They never believed in it then, and it got here. So if I keep working hard to manifest that, I can make this same thing happen again, because I made it happen here. I didn't go to LA to write that film. To write that play. I didn't go asking Russell to come produce it. I wrote it in Richmond, California. I staged it in Richmond, California, and it caught his attention. Now, if I put the same amount of effort and energy into it, it can get more people's attention. I can write new projects and get new people to be involved in whatever it is that I'm doing. So it's like, in the beginning, I felt that pressure, but once a couple of months that went past, I'm like, nah. If anything, I'm now graduating to another plateau, to where it's like, all right, it's new territory for me. So how can I like, to the public eye, I'm at the top, but inside I feel like I'm at the bottom of something new. And how could I remain confident and steadfast with doing this until this thing reaches to where I would like it to reach, or it needs to reach? So, yeah.
Yeah, if you build it, it will come. Basically, like it's because, and then the thing I'm noticing too, the Bay Area has its own film scene like coming up now. Like, there's a lot of opportunity. I was just in a film recently, and it's growing. And when these guys do what they do, it's
IOP video.
Yeah. Another, you know, I just want to. How do you? Every time I talk to you, man, like how do you keep yourself like? I would say up, you know, like I would say positive. Yeah. Like I just, you always have like a glow to you. No matter where I see you, I bump into you at the Sprout sometimes with buying, and every time I've ran into you, just, you know, me, I don't know. You know, when I'm down, I just like, I can't hide it, but you always have this halo of happiness over you. How do you stay like that, man?
Man, honestly, bro, I go through a lot internally.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because a lot of my problems don't even really be mine. It'd be me taking on other folks' problems or feeling like I should do more or I ain't did enough. When I'm to myself, I'm feeling it. You feel me? But when I step out, it's not like I don't be fake at all. It's just knowing that I have something to do. It's like knowing that, boom, all right, bro, been hitting me about this podcast. I got to make sure I come. And then when I come, it's like, I'm passionate about what we're talking about. So it's just, boom, I'm fired up because this is my purpose. Right. When I'm living in my purpose, I feel like it's nothing that can happen, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Nothing else matter. It's when trying to figure out what's the next move and how do I, all of that other internal stuff. I'm trying to make this step and I feel blocked in this area. So, you know what I mean? You deal with those things. People you trusted then left you hanging, taking advantage of you. People not really appreciating your time and your efforts and your energies, and going against the system and trying to figure out, dang, I keep on trying to have faith in humanity, but they keep on dogging my people. You know what I mean? So I feel some type of way. So I have moments where I feel very dark, and I just sit in that and I embrace it. But when I have moments to express, you feel me? It's just something about that triumphant spirit that's just like, it hurt, but I ain't broke.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Man, that's all right. Yeah. Another couple of things I want to ask real quick. The one thing I know last time I saw you speak, we asked you about how do you maintain, especially with this generation, you know, we date differently than our parents did, you know. How do you maintain a healthy relationship? Like, I know you talked about that before, and you're currently in a relationship, right?
Right.
And how do you maintain a healthy relationship? And I ask because, you know, our generation, it just seems like less marriages, there's less a bunch of stuff, you know.
I mean, there are more baby showers than marriages. How the hell does that work?
Well, I mean,
For real though.
yeah.
It's sad.
I've probably been to more baby showers than I've been to marriages.
Weddings,
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
To weddings. You're right.
Mhm.
Me, it's tough because it's like I'm dealing with my own personal traumas and abandonment from a childhood, and then I'm now conjoined with a person who got their own situation going on. So I gotta balance, like, how do I be there for me and be there for you without controlling your life or trying to make sure that, you gotta do it this way. It's like, all right, am I sharing this information because I want you to change? Am I sharing this information because it's helpful for you? And if you decide that you want to change, or am I sharing with this information with you because I need this because I'm hurting? And so just trying to identify, where am I coming from? Am I coming from a place of control or coming from a place of in need of support? And then communicating that in a way that's less toxic each time we communicate. Because you can only give what you have. And if I got a lot of toxic enemy energy, initially that's how it's going to come out. Until I start, the more I put it out, I got to then replace that and filter it with some love, with some peace, with some understanding. So the more I communicate, try to communicate in a less toxic manner and communicate in a way that's like, all right, this is where I'm coming from. This is where I would like to go. Where do you see yourself in that line of understanding? So one, communicating less toxic than the last time we communicated, and two, trying to get comprehension of where I'm coming from and where you may be coming from. And so, yeah, that's one, communication and comprehension. And then two, it is your daily efforts. How can I embody love in every step of our relationship? How can I consider you as much as I consider myself?
Right.
So being selfless, you feel me? Yeah, that's like those two things. Yeah, two things, because it's gonna take sacrifice. It's gonna take a sacrifice. You gotta put your feelings to the side and like, what did I do that made you feel this way? Right. Whether it was right or wrong on how you responded, what did I do that made you feel that way? Okay, was that the best part of me? No? Okay, I gotta get rid of that. If it was the best part of me and that still bothered you, then that's where you need support. You feel me? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not gonna take your response personal, because if I was wrong, I was wrong. If I wasn't wrong, but it still hurt, maybe I can support you with that understanding. So, yeah, just communication, comprehension, and then just that willingness to become love that's healing for that person and yourself in the process.
And just continue it, because it's never like, all right, we're there, you know?
Consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people think like you're supposed to be happy all the time. It's like, happiness is an illusion.
Yeah.
You feel me? It depends on your perspective. Like, you can look at, oh man, I'm happy that I just got somebody brought me, like going back to the food, somebody just brought me a cheeseburger. I'm happy. But it's like, that may be the burger that triggers that ailment.
Heart attack.
Are you still happy?
Or
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you still happy?
Right.
Or
That person brought you that burger.
or you could be happy after a good workout.
Yeah.
Those endorphins come in and you're like, hey.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's levels to it, but it's not something that lasts, because it's moments. Happiness are moments, but being at peace is everlasting. If you can see something that's like, dang, that I understand why this is what it is. And
it's good to be sad sometimes too. Like, it helps, because when you're sad, like you said, we were talking about this earlier, like when something happens, like when Nipsey died, all the people that came together, a lot of it was fueled by sadness. And sometimes when you're sad, you just analyze, why am I feeling this? It can help you grow as a person. And then not that that's a good thing, but it's because the reason I'm saying is right now, this season, man, I've had multiple people just this week contact me that they were feeling suicidal, and that's increased like right now, I mean, suicide rates off the chart, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to say why. I mean,
I blame social media.
that could be it. I mean, social media has a huge impact on the way we think.
It's addicting. There
You get
is,
instant gratification from like likes, and then when that goes away, it can make you sad.
and I think one of the comedians at the last showcase, it made a joke about how you post up something like, you post up something like a picture of yourself in the hospital, and it's like, well, on Instagram, oh, I got 20 likes. Now, there's more than one way to look at likes in this situation. If I get no likes, I feel bad because it's almost as though no one cares about me. But if I get 300 likes, I mean, does everyone want me to die while I'm in the hospital? What does that mean? And depending on who you are, you're going to take it differently. And it could be very depressing if you read too much into it. But why are we posting anyway? Yeah. I mean, I know I'm posting, so people will know that the latest episode of The Voice Party's out.
That goes back to that. It's like, what motivates you to post what you posted?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you are delinquishing the power from within yourself to just be satisfied with where you are.
Yep.
And you're putting it into the hands of popular opinion through a screen in an app that you don't know if it's real or not. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, and it's also like it's a communication and comprehension deficiency, because it's like, am I supposed to like this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because I only have two options. I either like it or don't like it.
Or I could comment on it.
You know what I mean?
But even less people comment.
And it's like, and then it's like, what do I say that won't feel generic? And then you just start going into a whole bunch of like insecure of like, some people don't know how to be supportive. Yeah. But they just put prayer hands, and it's like, but who are you praying to? And are you really praying? And it's like, no, but it becomes things that we do that's not really authentic. So it's like, when you expect genuineness on a platform that's built off miscommunication or a sense of falsehood,
misdirection, I mean,
it's like you create an illusion of, okay, I got 300 likes, but nobody came to visit me.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody called me.
Yeah. You still. Yeah.
Nobody helped me in rehab. Nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, then it becomes this. Then that automatically communicates like, all right, when I'm in pain, that's where I get the attention. So I'm gonna do things that cause pain. So then I'm gonna develop a platform for that. You know what I mean? Or being silly. Nobody pay attention to me when I'm serious. So I'm gonna be hella silly and hella goofy. And then it's like, I'm gonna put out. You know what I mean? So it just depends on where a person is coming from. Where it's like
a need for attention, basically, right?
Yeah. And that's what it is. You get this app, and it's like, you want somebody to see what you posted, and if you don't want nobody to like it or not, then it's like, you would have just lived your life. You wouldn't have took an extra 10 minutes or 30 sometimes out of your day to find the best picture to put up, and then to do a long caption of why it's so important to you, because you wanted somebody else to feel where you was coming from.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you are looking for some validation automatically. Because if you wasn't, you wouldn't have felt the need to tell anybody that you was in a good mood or what you ate today. Right. You would have just felt at peace with, you know what, that was fulfilling.
Amen to that.
Amen to that, man. Man, it's been great having you here, bro. And hopefully next time we talk, there's plans to make Romeo is Bleeding the play into a full length film.
Man,
I do have one question before we go, because it sounds like we're wrapping up. So you published a book of poetry,
right?
You've written scripts for plays and also for TV, essentially. I gotta ask, from one writer to another, because I dabble in some stuff myself, but do you have any plans to put together a novel? Is that like have you put any thought into that? So I'm curious.
And a novel, like a fiction, mostly?
Yeah.
I have put some thought to it. Right now, it's interesting that you asked that. Because for the first time, I just picked up the book, Their Eyes Was Watching God.
Oh, yeah.
Zora Neale Hurston. I've been hearing about that book for the longest. A couple of elders like, you need to read that. I said, I watched the movie. They're like, nah, you need to read it. I just picked it up yesterday. I'm on chapter 5, and it is the best book.
Yeah.
It's the best piece of language that I've put my hands on as far as like a nonfiction, and just reading that is like, how did you come up with the language and the characters that's so rich? On the first page, I was like, oh my God, I ain't never heard nothing written like this before. And so I say it's 2 books, that and it's a book called The Prophet.
Okay.
I can't remember the author, but those are 2 books that made me like, yeah, I want to write something. I want to write something for sure. I mean, it's other books in the past, you know what I mean? Growing up, reading little drug dealer books and all of that. You're like, man, I want to write. But as of lately, like that book, Their Eyes Was Watching God, make me be like, yeah, I wanna commit to bettering my writing, because the way she used words and images and language is like, it's unmatched.
She's
and
a master.
Yeah. So if I write something, it gotta be I want it to be my own way like that. That's like, it's not just, oh, Donte wrote a novel and I don't want to get praised just because I'm a black man from Richmond doing something positive. Like, I no longer care for that part. I want it to be like, I ain't never read nothing like this before in my life. And I don't want to hear it from no 17-year-old. I want to hear it from somebody who praises or love this type of language. You be like, I'm 65 years old. I done read every poet there is. Every author, every book that came from the Black Arts Movement, whatever. I want them to read something and I write and be like, yeah, I ain't never read nothing like this before. And what's crazy is, reading the forward, it said that when that book came out, nobody wanted to be a part of it. They didn't like it. It was like, it was too, it made us look bad as black people. And then and then when she passed, it became what it is today. And that's another learning lesson of like, sometimes you can be so ahead of your time that by the time people catch up, you still far ahead of them. Because like, when I'm reading that book, I'm like, dang, if she did this way back then, 20s, like, we finna be in another decade of the 20s. And it's still, I ain't heard or read nothing that's that. So that's like a century ahead of your, like, you know what I mean? Like, I that make me want to step my level up of like, boy, she was 100 years ahead of her time 100 years ago.
I thought of another, like, what are some of your influences? I know we never touched on that, like growing up or now. Like, what are some of your influences? Like, you like artists you read about, or you know, people you watch on movies. Like, who influences you? Like
everything and everybody.
Everything and everybody. Okay.
I could name a few people. I'm just gonna go with Zora Neale Hurston right now.
Yeah.
That she's leading that.
Okay.
Back to Malcolm X. Just on my way up in here, I was listening to a couple of his speeches. And just his thought patterns, the way that he speak, it's like, I still ain't heard too many Afro-American or black freedom fighters today being able to grasp what the concept that he talked about, where it's like, it's simple. Yeah. It's either we gonna come together or we not. And it's gonna be a forced revolution, no matter how you look at it. And I'm just listening to it, and that's why I was able to say this thing that I was saying earlier, like, man, he said that in the 60s, and I'm still seeing, like, through all of these different policies, it still applies. So then Bob Marley, a person that's like, I can reach people by just being peaceful. You feel me? Yeah. So I don't have to, I'm not going to stand on what you stand on. This is what I believe, and I'm so convicted in it to where it's like, I'm going to speak. Yeah, they tried to kill me in my sleep, but I'm going to still show up to the concert. I'm going to still do what I got to do. So when I'm looking at these type of individuals, it's like, one, I can't be afraid to speak and tell the truth and be looked at as a black supremacist like Malcolm, because that's not what I'm talking about. But if that's what you get, if that's what's going to bring us together, then yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, if we want our solutions, the way that we've been going about it is not working. We need to come together. Yeah. And when we come together, automatically, it's going to force a shift. It's going to force something. Period. Right. So we got to do that. Then at the same time, being peaceful is important to me. So, you know what I mean? Somebody like Bob. As far as other artists, I mean, I draw inspiration from everybody. Just seeing the humanity in people, little kids. Yeah. Giving and just being forgiving. Like, you pop them on the hand, they cry, but as soon as you offer them something else, they're like, oh, it's all good. You know what I mean? True. And it's just like, I ain't even tripping off that no more. You still my favorite. I still want you to hold me. You pop me, I don't run from you. I'm not mad at you. It's like, you pop me, I'm hurting, pick me up. Show me some love. I forgive you. You know what I mean? And I know you wasn't mad at me. It's just like that concept. The scriptures even say that until you are converted into a child, you will not be able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. You got to be childlike. So it's not being stupid. It's just being like innocent, pure. You know what I mean? Like, be forgiving and be giving and be kind and just see people for the humanity. So it's a lot of different things and people and ideas that inspire me when I see it manifested. It's just like, all right, I gotta figure out a way to write that, you know what I mean, and embody that in everyday life, if not in my art. You know what I mean?
Man, you definitely embody that. So
It's a walking poet, philosopher, scientist, historian. My God, what
you do
are
everything,
you, sir? Like, what are you not,
man? But I want to thank you for coming. I don't want to take too much of your time. One last thing I always do is, what do you want our listeners to take from everything, and also where can we find you on social media to follow you?
Social media, Don Black, DonBlak. That's Instagram.
That's your rap name, right?
And that's my artistic rap name.
Yeah,
Don Black. So if you go to YouTube, DonBlak, Don Black, Instagram, Don Black. One thing I want y'all to take away from this is, if you are not the solution, you are the problem. And if you're not thinking, speaking, and becoming love, then you are an enemy to peace.
Doesn't get better than that,
no,
man.
No, it doesn't.
I think
get any more clear than that.
Donte Clark, thank you for coming, man. We've been The Voice Party. We're out.
See you later.
All right. That's a wrap, man. Thank you.
For sure.